good beautiful morning from a day in Juneau. So first we start off at the Gold Belt Tram. This tram is actually pretty awesome. It is the only tram in the entire state of Alaska, and during the winter season you can actually go backcountry skiing. But for us today, we actually just went and hiked Mount Roberts. Now Mount Roberts is only roughly around 4,000 feet, so it was nothing too crazy, but the elevation gain was pretty insane.
Sick. Yeah? Are they hurting really bad?
Just my arches.
If you were to hike this from beginning to end, you'd actually hit over 4,000 feet of elevation gain in the span of 4 miles, give or take.
Oh my god, look at that shit.
Woo!
But the views from the top are well worth it, and especially because I got to fly my drone, I got to see some of that beautiful landscape up on the mountain. But after this beautiful hike, we actually ran into some more issues with our boat. Unfortunately, one of our generators went out, so we had to stay an extra day in Juneau. But to make up for it, we actually got to go whale watching. This was probably the highlight of my entire trip here in Alaska. This was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, the most spectacular display of bubble net feeding. Now, when I lived in Alaska, I lived in Ketchikan, and we don't typically get whales, but here in Juneau, it is common for them to get as many humpback whales as possible. Now, if you know anything about the migratory patterns of humpback whales, or most whales, is that they come up north to come feed. And later down the lines, during the summertime, they'll head down closer to the equator to get a little bit warmer and also to start begin mating. But here in Juneau, it was absolutely insane. I have never seen bubble net feeding in my entire life living up in Alaska. But this was just the next level. These whales were extremely hungry. We found a group of maybe 8 of them, and they were bubble net feeding constantly back to back to back, just going to different spots. Their fluke, or their tail, is actually something like a fingerprint for them. Each and every single humpback whale has a unique pattern on their fluke, which gives them that unique identity. So if you see some in the wild and you're wondering where this whale is from or who they are, you can definitely look them up. You can find all sorts of information about these whales just through their flukes. Now, some of these whales have actually shown a lot of wear and tear, especially on their backs. You can also see some damage in their dorsal fins, and I'm not actually sure if that's from humans or if that's from just the wildlife that's out there. Now, something super interesting that I noticed when I was out there was we just watched the birds fly to wherever that the humpback whales were. There are a couple of ways you can identify where the whales are going to be coming up during that bubble net feeding phase. For one, we watched the birds to see where they would go, and number 2 was watching the fish pop up. And the reason for this consistent bubble net feeding was actually just because whales do eat a ton of food per day. They are constantly burning calories while traveling, so they need to make sure they store up for the summertime so that they don't have to feed as much and can focus on mating. Now, after all that boring stuff, this is my honest opinions. I loved this tour. If you're ever in Juneau, I recommend you to go out on a whale watching tour. My recommendation is going through Allen Marine. I work there, I love the company, and I love what they do, especially with the way that they respect the wildlife. But other than that, that concludes our second day in Juneau, and I'll see you in the next episode.